And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you. Aquaba and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Raster Report here on Thursdays, where we are talking about tech, talk, and future talk. Today's date is Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on livinginblack.com. My name is Kedia Wadu, aka the Conscious Rusty, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today and every day. Here's what we have for our program for today. I hope you find this to be informative, inspiring, and exciting. Let me introduce the program, and I have a guest on today. Here we go. The theme of today's program: disunity, disruptions, the challenge of global unity for Africans. My guest will be Sundiata Kamara. For decades and persisting to current times, there has persisted the challenge of African identity and unity. My guest today and I discuss how we can unite 1.78 billion people of African heritage on this planet in order to stop the degrading treatment of our global family. What strategic tactics can be implemented that will result in peace, prosperity, unity, and cultural integrity for Africans? How did these tragic beefs get started in the first place? Briefly on my guest, Chief Sundiata Kamara is a prominent figure in the African community in Chicago, known for his work in cultural preservation, education, and community development. He has been involved in various initiatives aimed at promoting African heritage and supporting the local community. His contributions often include organizing events, workshops, and programs that celebrate African culture and history. Without any further hesitation, let me welcome to the stage my brother, Chief Sundiata Kamara. Akwaba, welcome. How you doing today,
All
Baba?
right, my brother. How you doing? Hotep, how you feeling?
We black and we shine. I hope you are in beautiful spirits today.
Yeah, definitely. Always, always. Good to see you again. Been a
It's
long
been a
time.
while since we had this conversation. I was
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
back through the
definitely.
archives, and has it been, what, 12 years since we've had you on with us? It's been a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. My debate with Malik Zulu Shabazz. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was early on during the Obama years or the
Right,
Obama presidency. And
right.
looking back at the conversation and looking back at this debate,
Hmm.
you and I had taken a position that was rather critical of Barack Obama, while Malik Zulu Shabazz had taken a friendly and favorable position. Do you regret it all, or do you find any fault with having been very suspicious about the impact of Barack Obama on the global Pan African community?
No, I think I was like Muhammad Ali. I was right on time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the grand scheme of things, I think you know, I think he was a very big disappointment to us, as I predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I didn't think he was prepared to challenge white supremacy. As you see, he didn't. He just really got in the White House and you know uh, buck dance and tap dance, and did a bit in the white supremacy. Even though I think he's a good brother as far as a nice person, but we don't need niceties. We need people that's going to stand up against white supremacy for us. We had 400 years of being oppressed and being taken advantage of, mistreated, abused, and we need someone who's going to stand up. We need someone with some strength.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't think he had that.
Well, let me ask your opinion about the recent Democratic Party candidate, Kamala Harris. Did you take a similar or a different position with Kamala Harris's presidential run?
Yes, same thing. I think same way. She's actually said she's not going to do anything for our people. So I think a lot of black men uh, went in the direction of Trump, and we know his agenda, and we know how he is. You can see that coming a mile away. But I think people are just tired of the Democratic Party, voting Democrat, 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 and we get nothing in return. So we just, basically, white supremacy plays ping pong with black people. Uh,
Mm.
we basically, in the beginning, during Reconstruction, we were Republicans because Lincoln was a Republican. But at the end, I mean, I'm sorry, in 1900 we end up being going Democrat. It's the same old thing. We don't have a clear agenda. We need to unify, and we're going to get behind a candidate. We need tangible goals that we can see and achieve, and things need to be done. So we're in I think, worse shape with all these black elected officials. Just as Africa has, since colonialism, they had, black presidents, but, it's still neo-colonialism. And I think, we still neo-Jim Crow,
Mm.
the plantation days, if you will. Things haven't changed all that much for us as a people.
Hmm. Now, the gist of this conversation began when you had sent me a message after
Mm-hmm.
having viewed a particular video. I didn't cue that video up for today because I didn't necessarily want to add our energy, your and my energy, and our listeners' energy to what we call beef, street
Right,
beef.
right.
But the challenge that you put on the table with
Mm-hmm.
this video is a very real challenge. And we're not talking about street beef, we're talking about global beef, not
Right.
just beef between blacks and non blacks, but or Africans and non Africans, but beef too often amongst ourselves, between ourselves. Would you like to describe your response to that video? And maybe you might want to describe the video. I'm not into it, so I'll let you do the description. But that challenged you to want to bring this
Yeah.
conversation, which I think is very important.
Yeah. Basically, there's a lot of, I would say, xenophobia and anti-Caribbean, anti-African sentiments by, two different organizations. If I can I mention those organizations? Is it all right?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, ADOS by Yvette Carnell.
And that's
Uh,
African descendants of slaves, and
yeah,
we've
exactly.
called them out numerous times. Never gotten a response to come on the air, but we've called
Right.
out some of their strategies. And the other group,
Is FBA, Foundational Black Americans. So
wow.
I'm a bit tired. Tariq had a show last night, and some of those that support him had me on a 4-hour interview yesterday, and they tried to beat up on me, but I held strong for Africa. But their
Hmm.
sentiment is that they have run into continental Africans they feel is not working with us to combat white supremacy, and so they take this approach that they must delineate, and they're their own ethnic group. They don't believe that we all come from Africa. They think they were already here, and we were already the natives. They take Lizzie, woman, and say she was already here, and so it's just a very anti-African. So Tariq spends hours every night, and it's the same thing. It's some type of problem with Africans or Caribbean people, and I don't understand the whole Caribbean thing because if they put Africa all in a boat, and it's 54 countries in Africa, which are very diverse, different people, then you separate yourself from Jamaicans and Caribbeans, and Jamaica is in North America, so is Haiti and the other Caribbean islands, but they differentiate themselves from them, and they call them tethers. And they
Tethers.
tethers. Yeah, that's the word for them, a tether. And they say, they say that well, those people who are quote unquote on code with them, they're a tether. And so it's just a lot of animosity because you just pushing that scenario every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to be like that's the only problem. So he's not. They're not dealing with mass incarceration. They're not dealing with things I'm dealing with. The
Mm-hmm.
incarceration of the black men. There are more black men in jail on parole, probation, than there was in 1850 during the height of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why Michelle Alexander said we got the it's the new Jim Crow. It's the prison industrial complex. And so they're not addressing that. They're not addressing the homeless issue. They're not addressing the disconnect between the black male and black female. And it's dangerous because kind of like what Hitler did. Hitler, you know, everything was the Jews' problem, and this is what he does every day. There's no other constructive things talked about. Every day is delineation. Every day is Caribbeans did this or Africans did that. In fact, even so much so, there was one young lady that was murdered by a Jamaican brother, and he said, "I knew it had to be a tether because we don't do that." And it's like he's romanticizing, black people,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you said she was murdered by a Jamaican brother. Is that a proper use of the term
well, yeah,
brother?
I won't say brother. I would say, but yeah, but still, yeah, I say
Mm-hmm.
brother because even though we are messed up, we still all family. Just sometimes our family do despicable things. We have brothers that have done things. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm promoting what he did, but it was a deplorable thing what he did to that sister. But anyway, a Jamaican, and he, said, "I knew it had to be a tether because we don't do things like that." So, which is
No, and
romanticized.
wait. Tariq Nasheed said it had to be someone outside of African Americans because
Right.
we
Yeah.
don't kill black women, but
Yeah.
that is highly contradictory to the data and the facts.
Yeah. Well, he was saying that the girls in college. So he was saying that we don't kill college. We don't kill college students, and I said that's just so off base and so
Absurdly untrue.
exactly. So this is and that's easy to find. So when you're doing it every day, it's dangerous. And then he says things like, he makes mockery of their culture, talks about a goosey soup and jollof rice, and it's like, says they're musty, and says they defecate on the streets, and just which is not true, and I think that is, it's hurtful, and it's not helping the situation. And like I say, African people in this country only about 2 million. They're the smallest number of immigrants here, and those that come in Chicago and the cities, we don't have any trouble with African people. That maybe you might say, "Well, the brother didn't speak to me," but they're not killing us. They're not the ones owning the businesses in our community. They're not the ones that's mistreating us. So I just think it's very unbalanced. Yes, there's a disconnect in many ways because we have to really get to understand each other. The culture is different, and there has to be dialogue, but you don't get anywhere by name calling and disrespect and being xenophobic. We get someplace by sitting down as a family
Hmm.
and working out our differences. And he
Yeah,
has
and
the black,
celebrating
yeah,
our the
differences.
it's not even the differences. I would say we celebrate the breadth of
Yeah,
our cultural
yeah,
distinctions. I
that's
mean, when
right.
we look at the African continent, we can see that before colonial imposition and
Hmm.
colonization and enslavement,
Hmm.
Africa had as many as 1,200 distinct ethnic identities.
That's right.
But we didn't have this annihilation uh, until the period leading up to the
Mhm.
enslavement and the Arab incursion, the European incursion and enslavement.
Right.
And it was this same sort of disunity you're describing that facilitated the conquering of our people and the
Hmm.
kidnapping and the disappearing from history of 600 million Africans disappeared from Africa's development history
Mhm.
because of these incursions caused by this very disunity. Now, you had mentioned that Tariq Nasheed has this particular group. You gave an acronym for that group. Can you repeat that for me? I was just looking for that in the background.
Yeah, it's called Foundational Black Americans. The acronym is FBA, and
Okay.
uh, and they just so it's great. And I tell you how it touched me though. I see it as a cult in a sense because
Mm-hmm.
there are two dear friends of mine. One two dear friends of mine. One is Malcolm X's cousin, and I just know that they start attacking Africa a lot because, as you know, Brother Kitty, I traveled to the Gambia in 1999, and I have not worn European clothing uh, in 26 years. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I'm an African. I don't call myself an African American. I'm like as Malcolm said, I'm one of the 43 million victims of America and Americanism. So I don't look at it. I'm just an African, and I don't need validation from any continental African to validate me or accept me. I am what I am, I'm a proud African. So
Mm-hmm.
they started attacking me, and then when Trump, you know, as Trump was running, I was talking to one friend, and I said, Trump, Trump is racist, and he's like, that's a lie. And just I said, you really are that, you know. I know you're not liking the way Kamala is moving, but you really think that Trump is a friend to black people and just the way he was acting, and how the other one, Malcolm's cousin, was literally just saying "F Africans," and it was just like, wow. Even we had one friend of ours, Kwame Afari, who's with our organization, the Sanctuary African Society. Kwame introduced me to Malcolm's cousin, and he's like, he don't want to do with Kwame because he's an African. And then
Mm.
when I went to try to talk with Tariq, of course, he likes to roast and crack jokes and all that stuff. So I married a Malian lady. That'll be my second year anniversary in March,
Mm-hmm.
and he went and told Tariq all my business and about the Malian lady, and I was hurt, by it. Like this, that can cause brothers to fight. But I said, look, brother, I love you. I don't want to fight with you, but that you shouldn't have gave that man my personal information about my wife. Why would you do something like that? And he basically said he don't have no love for me because I consider myself an African.
Now,
And
you
so
said this was Malcolm X's cousin, who's your
yeah,
friend,
yeah,
associate?
Malcolm X's
Mm-hmm.
cousin is his father was Malcolm's first cousin, and he said
Mm-hmm.
that just told me I don't block my number. We don't communicate anymore. So and we were very close, man. And very close. I mean, and we talked almost every day, and that hurt me. I said, wow. I mean, and he knows where I'm from and what my family background is, but just because he has that type of disdain for Africa.
So I'm looking at the website Foundational Black Americans, and I'll put up the link to that website. I see a book with Tariq Nasheed's picture on it, and I'm not going to comment on his personality. I'll make the comment brief. I believe he does exhibit narcissistic personality disorder,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
very much, very much, very much so. I mean, it's like uh, he likes, he got, when I confront him about the issue, and he likes to talk about people and crack jokes. Even he got into it with Taraka Bay and a guy named Brandon from Pan African Strikes Back. Did a whole cartoon uh, denigrating Taharka Bay, Dr. Umar Johnson, and this guy Brandon. I mean, literally denigrating them, like uh, they did a whole, I mean, a whole series. I'm like, wow, you actually spend money to degrade another black man. So, and I'm not proud of myself because when he did that to me, I played the dozens growing up, in Chicago, and I was pretty good. So I came back on some things, but after saying, look, bro, let's have a conversation. But yeah, he's very narcissistic, and the reason why it's cultish is because The man is on at in Chicago 1 a.m. So I know in New York it's like 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And every night he has 2,000 people listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the topic. Some about Africa, some about the Caribbean, nothing else. I mean, he goes into some things about white supremacy a little bit, but it all always end up being about Africans or Caribbeans. And tethers this and tether that, and like one Ethiopian brother called up there and said, "Brother, why when I call you spaces, you're so hostile?" And
Mm-hmm.
and he just challenged him a little bit. He didn't disrespect him. He said, "Where are you from, sir?" And he said, "I'm from Ethiopia, and my father is from Somalia." "Oh, you double musty. You choking on bush meat and everybody think that's so funny. I like, man, you don't have to. You can have your lineage. You can address
Mm-hmm.
reparations. You don't have to denigrate Africa." And I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, as an African, that we're not going to tolerate that type of disrespect of African people or black people. Period. Because the Jews don't. You can't. He couldn't get on there for 1 second and say anything about Jews. You couldn't get on there 1 second and say that about the homosexual community. You can't do it. So why do African people have to tolerate this type of disrespect? And you look at
Mm-hmm.
our podcast, like we can get on there and say the N word all day long,
Mm-hmm.
but the moment we show any militancy, these platforms take us down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And
I
so,
I was
uh,
taken off of YouTube for
uh,
showing science. I kept citing science papers, peer
right,
review articles on science papers. They defunded me. Then they took down my website and some 2,000 videos I had placed up on YouTube over the course of about 16 years
yeah,
all disappeared from YouTube. And that's a
yeah,
lot of material. I have those videos backed up on various hard drives, but at the
yeah,
same time, realizing when it comes to the stance of black on black hostility,
yeah.
they
They
do
love
not
it.
censor.
No, they
They
don't.
celebrate that.
They
But
celebrate it.
when
Yeah,
it comes to blacks lashing out against other groups outside
right,
of our own group who we perceive have hurt us and continue to hurt us,
right.
including the National Institutes of Health,
Yes,
we get censored.
exactly.
Now, so Mike, how did you get on? Because I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to go on with Tariq Nasheed now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you have to be on X, which is formerly Twitter,
hmm
and they have something called.
Okay,
You hear me? You hear me there, brother Kitty?
your microphone dropped for just about 10 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I was getting a phone call. So,
Okay, you have to be on Twitter, you
you
say.
you have yeah, Twitter, and then they have something called Spaces. So I do one every Tuesday, and I do my podcast every Sunday called The African Village. So you just go on there at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see it. You follow Tariq Nasheed, and then you'll see the space. You click on it, and then there's be about 2,000 people on there, and you just, maybe you can get to talk, maybe you can't, but I got on there about 3 times, and I was able to say something, and so I talked about this. He called me. Literally, I can send you the link. I'm sorry, you didn't get the picture, did you? I sent you.
No, I didn't get that.
Okay, if you want me to still send it, I can.
No,
Um,
we're already up and live. So the promotion, I put together a pretty nice piece of promotion. I'll
yeah,
email you that promotion that I use as well as the link to today's
sure.
file. But continue. So I
Yeah,
don't necessarily want to dwell too much on
right,
the inadequacies of
right,
Tariq
right, right,
Nasheed. We do have
right,
that
right,
access to that website, Foundational Black Americans. And I'm
right,
just looking at that website and I can see it is a celebration of 1619. We've
right,
been
right,
captured. We're now foundational Black Americans. It's in their very name.
right.
And the photographs he used, vintage photographs of black people in back in the Jim Crow era, dressed up like they are of the Hamptons Society. You know what I'm talking about.
Right, right,
This
right, right.
this whole bourgeoisie. And it reminds me, and correct me if you think it's wrong, I'm wrong, but it reminds me of the Pan-Hellenic associations,
Mm.
where they take on Greek identities,
Right,
and
right.
black Greeks, they believe themselves to be too often some privileged class, while in the
Hmm.
work of Brother Steve Coakley and no small number of others, they were
Hmm.
exposed as the
Boule.
compradors. That's
Yeah.
the boule. The compradors was the term
Hmm.
John Henry Clark used, which is a
Right.
Portuguese term that had to deal with the Chinese who helped the Portuguese and the Europeans conquer prime areas of China. Compradors. And the
Hmm.
boule is Tariq Nasheed fronting as some sort of boule character? Or are others, we do know the boule is doing what they do. So I don't want to load the question with the answer. Your thoughts on what I've just said.
I can't say that. I don't know if he's a boule or because but I know that he's making a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
off of that because he's getting, he's monetized on YouTube, and so he records the space on X, and then he puts it on YouTube, and so and then he's comical, so he like he said I was an agent, and he drew this picture of this Nigerian, looked like a Nigerian brother, and heavy set Nigerian brother behind a cartoonish, and put that on there and said I was an agent getting, you know, um, I was getting grant money, which is not true because I
Yeah,
talked
well,
about
you know,
separation.
you can file a case when they make these type of libel claims in
Oh yeah,
public
yeah,
media.
yeah. I'm definitely in the process of doing that, and because I talked about separation, I just don't believe that we are going to work things out with white people, and I just think that we just keep trying and trying and trying, and we see things are not getting better. They did a study with the Kerner Commission in the '60s, right? And they said that there were two societies, black and white, separate and unequal. And they did it 20 years later, the same thing. They did it again, it's the same thing. In fact, they said it's getting worse. So how
Well,
long?
no one is citing my study.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I'd love to hear your study, my brother.
Yeah, my
Brother.
study is in the book Fade to Black, The
Okay,
Passing of a Great Race. The
right,
gist
that's
of
right.
my study indicates that between 1975 and
Hmm.
2020, during a 45-year period, black fertility in America crashed. And it
Hmm.
crashed so bad that the same um, maternal lineage from a 1960 black matriarch in the United States, at
Hmm.
her fertility rate, she would have produced over four generations 151 great great grandchildren. But if we take that same black matriarch and project her forward to modern day fertility rate, in four generations, the same black matriarch would produce 1.32 great great grandchildren compared to her great grandmother's 151. That fertility crash over a 45-year period, I said in the book, if we continue that for the next 45 years, by 2065, black people in America will have been the latest indigenous group to disappear. What happened to the people of Sumer is the ancient riddle. They disappeared because they forgot their history. What happens to African Americans at the
Hmm.
present trajectory? We're disappeared by 2065, while in 1937 it was
Hmm.
predicted that we would become this nation's majority population, and that appears to be by 2045, but it was disrupted, interrupted, taken off course, and it is these compradors, these sellouts, who sold us to Planned Parenthood, who sold
Hmm.
us to the
Yeah.
abortion mills, who sold
Yeah.
us to fertility reduction, who sold us to the glibet alphabet community.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
there, now we
Eugenics.
see with this other group you're pointing out, fundamental black Americans, the selling out is still going on.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad because and this is what so trying to be a voice of reason. with people to say, we can't treat each other like that. And this
Mm-hmm.
is no justification on the continental African side. There are some that have been a bit abrasive, and we have to talk with them. We have to continue to work together. We
And
need
build
conference.
together. Mm-hmm.
We need conference. We need dialogue. I have not had very many problems, um, myself, but I think Clubhouse, there's another app, and I got on there one day, and there was some very, very, abrasive, and I would say disrespectful, uh, continental Africans on there, mostly from Nigeria, which I love Nigeria and love Nigerian people, but it broke my heart how they were talking to me. So I think Clubhouse kind of started it. They said we're gonna start going back at them, and it's just turned into a whole thing. A lot of Somalian community, which I have good relationships with the Somalians, and I'm always like the go between when it comes to continental Africans, and working things out. But it's just sad, and it's like we're gang banging. It's like a big gang bang, uh, Black Americans versus Africans, and it's like it's something that has to stop, and someone has to be the voice of reason and say we have to unite, and especially what our dear brother in Burkina Faso is doing, and uh, Ibrahim Traore, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso
Mm-hmm.
is doing. It's beautiful, and I also think this could be a counter to that because he's welcoming African Americans to come home. He's welcoming us. They're embracing us, and I myself am the first individual to be crowned Mensa K that was born here. It was back in June. My teacher and the elders, wanted me to stand up, and we formed something called Mali Kibife, which is the Mali Empire of the West, and to unite our brothers here to unite with them. So when we do vote, we're voting for the best interests of Africa. We do galvanize. We're looking out for our brothers there, and we're doing something for ourselves. So it's very important that we come together. We have to unify. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right. We welcome you, our listening audience, joining us today. I do see Queen Sister Rhonda has joined us on Facebook. It's always a pleasure to be with you today. We're having a good sized audience. In fact, Rhonda has a couple of comments, if you don't mind me
Sure.
sharing. She says, Uja all, greeting us in Kemetan language.
Okay.
I put up a link to the book, hard copy of the book, FBA Race Baiter by author Tariq Nasheed. She responds, it's so disheartening to hear the disunity going on in the world today, especially since the foundation of all civilization is Africa.
That's right.
Malcolm X is a great reference for true Pan Africanism. It's unfortunate that Malcolm X's cousin is not in sync with Malcolm, and that's kind of shocking and surprising, but not necessarily so shocking and surprising. We look at our people. She also writes, and Malcolm's vision of a united Africa at home and abroad. And
Yes.
so,
And,
welcome
and
to all of our
Malcolm's mother
comments.
was Caribbean too. Louise Little was from the Caribbean. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also shocking. But it just goes to show you anybody with a mic and a little charisma can get our people to follow them. And this is the problem with Marcus Garvey said, race first, because too often many of our religious leaders and political leaders take advantage of our people. We need a council of elders and really a security department because so we can defend our community. If we had had that during the time of Malcolm, he would still be here. Because we can't just let religious people say they talk to God on a mountain somewhere. They can just do whatever they want to do, or some charismatic person comes up and it'll become, they become cultish and want to hurt some people. When Tariq called me an agent, I started getting threats and hate mail and all kind of stuff. Um, and when you put that out there, especially a guy, I work with the vice lords, I work with the gangster disciples and Bloods and Crips, that could be detrimental to say someone's an agent. So we
Hmm.
need we need
Yeah,
we need
that's
our elders.
back in
Yeah,
the COINTELPRO days. That was called bad jacketing.
we
And
had
they
bad Jack.
attempted to
Yeah.
do that against Kwame Ture. They have attempted, I've had people attempt to do that against myself
Oh yeah.
multiple times, and including, since we're naming names today, including a person who attempted to bad jacket me, was this guy called the irritated genie of Sufis, Ayo Kemati.
Oh,
He
for
was
irritating.
later, yeah,
Wow.
he was later exposed, and I'm proud to have been one of the first to expose him as working for the intelligence agencies. He began in the Office of Naval Intelligence while he was
Mm.
still in the military. But at the time this beef beef came up between himself and myself with the bad jacketing, he was working for the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, in the daytime, while at nighttime, like
Mm.
Tariq, using social media videos to antagonize relations. And it wasn't just bad jacketing, but they're also doing, what's it called, where they put someone out here to antagonize other people to engage in criminal activities
Mhm.
by getting them all riled up. I can't remember the terminology. I wrote about this in one of my books about COINTELPRO then and now.
Mhm.
But yeah, what Tariq did against you is called bad jacketing.
Yeah, no, no doubt. This is why we need the ancestors. I mean, we need the elders because uh, sit down and resolve disputes. And I was on there with them 4 hours. I was saying, listen, it was like, they're just mesmerized by him, and they're afraid to
No,
say something because they.
were you the guest, or were you just like a listener and
No,
just
no, I
got
was a guest. I was
caught
a
up?
guest.
Okay.
One of his top, top guys that listens to him named Robbie, very intelligent, articulate brother. And I'm
Hmm.
like, brother, how are you, as intelligent as you are, a participant in this? Trying to
Hmm.
talk to him, and I just wanted to have a conversation with him. And then he put me in a space, and like, man, a lot of people joined, and it was just like they're trying to beat up on me, but I held my own because I said, look, I'm not going to waver from Africa. I'm an African, and I'm going to defend black people, whether you're in America, whether you're in Africa, whether you're wherever you are on 196,940,000 square miles of land and water and ever. I'm never going to abandon and not be a protector of our people. So I have to say that this is wrong. And they had every excuse in the book on how it's not harmless, and I mean how it's harmless and it's no big deal, and I should take a better approach because I got harsh with him. I said he was basically acting as a modern day King Leopold and Hitler. I said that myself, So they're like, it's a better way. You could. I said, I think it could be a better way. But man, I'm passionate about my people. I don't like it if people want to denigrate Africa because that's denigrate me. You hate Africa, as Malcolm X said. You hate yourself. You don't. You have a disdain, and that's really any. We all know life comes from Africa. As you're a scientist, brother Key, you know that the scientist Mendel said that dark skin is dominant, light skin is recessive, brown eyes are dominant, blue eyes are recessive. Dominant creates the recessive, but the recessive can never, ever, 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 you know, create the dominant. So we know that all life form is from Mother Africa. So the world owes a debt to Mother Africa, and owes Africans owe their respect and admiration. You don't denigrate, disrespect your mother. You don't do that.
Hmm. Now, I just pulled up the X and I put in the search engine FBA race baiter Tariq. And what I am seeing in the background are videos of violent assaults.
Mm.
Now,
I need
here's
to,
the
yeah.
question: how are they able to get away with putting up videos of violent assaults, which just take a copy of the video to the police and the people would be prosecuted for, hey, verbal dispute turning into a pummeling down. So
Mhm.
I cannot disagree with your point that there's something deeper here behind this movement of FBA, and I'll I'm glad you brought this. I was initially, as you know, reluctant to talk about
Yes,
this,
yeah, yeah, I
but
know.
I'm glad you brought this because I have been so caught up in producing the research. You know, I just published my 55th book, and 56 is due in about another week.
Mm, right,
And I just do not have time to deal with what I call trifling Negro stuff.
right. Yes,
But
yeah, I
this is going
understand.
on in the background. And here's the last point I'll make. Young people are drawn to this stuff because of the shock value of
Right.
social media and videos has now they grew up with the shock value of this. I'm an elder. I'm about to turn 70 years young. We didn't grow up with
Wow.
this stuff. This
You
is
looking,
very shocking to me.
you looking good, my brother. You looking good.
Well, you know,
What's that?
a lot of my research is on how to look good at age 69 and still do my 150 to 250 push-ups in the first set of every day.
That's great. That's great. I know you're vegan, and that's what I was telling. I was telling them today. We have our health. Especially with COVID and all that. Health. The foods that we eating is killing us.
Yeah, we
Uh,
challenged.
yeah, diabetes is at an all-time high. And these are things we could be talking about because he loved to make fun of. He loves to make fun of heavy set people. He definitely gonna. He roasted Umar real bad. He tried to come at me. So I'm like, since you like to joke and make fun of heavy set, give people the information on better choices of eating, health, because because
Hmm.
and then doesn't just mean Brother Keaty, because like myself, I'm a big guy, but I work out, I eat right. Everybody that's thin is not necessarily in the best of health either. You know what I'm saying? So, um, we it's a struggle. I don't care if you're big, you're small. We all have to eat right. We all have to exercise. We all have to fast and put the right food in our body. And that's a struggle every day when when you outside and you know a kale salad may cost you $20, but you can get a you can go right by the fast food place and get some chicken wings real cheap, or they going so it's not easy. So we got real struggles and real problems as a people to sit back and be fighting over who's from Africa, who's from Jamaica, and we all got the same struggle, man. We got the same enemy, and the enemy is white supremacy. So there's so much he could be doing with that platform besides bashing, continental Africans and bashing our brothers from the Caribbean. So that's my
Mm,
point. Mhm.
yeah, we can do better. We're looking out for the best long-term self-interest of a global population. Now, earlier I was sharing with you research from the next book due. The book is called The African Future. And it talks about this narrative we've been referring to called Africa Rising. I trust that you are familiar with the Africa Rising narrative.
The African rising there. No, well, for me. I mean, I've heard some things, but I'd like to hear your perspective or hear, you break it down for me.
Yeah, I discovered Africa Rising
Uh-huh.
in 2015
Okay.
based upon I got so excited about what this narrative was about. I started putting together the story and I actually published one book called Africa Rising. And every Pan African book I've published since 2015 has a chapter on this narrative called Africa Rising.
Okay.
Essentially, Africa Rising deems that the African continent, 55 nations, is moving towards continental unity. It
Mhm.
has the highest demographic dividend of any portion of the planet, has the
Right.
youngest nations on the planet, is
Right.
developing technology at a rate that's allowing it to leapfrog over hundreds of years. And so, when all added together, GDP ratio, the annual GDP ratios,
Mhm.
access to natural resources and minerals, Africa Rising was indicating that the continent is moving out of 600 years of colonization, depression, and abuse and now moving solidly towards middle income status as a continent somewhat same trajectory that China made between 1946 and today, where China is now overtaking the United States as the leading economy in the world in purchasing power parity. So so we've been promoting Africa Rising, hundreds of shows here on LB Radio. But what my new book is saying we are now to push forward from Africa Rising to the African future.
That's
So
right.
now the African future is pushing everything into place so we capture on an even greater level than what China was able to do. How can I say at a greater level? Chinese are brilliant, their culture deep and respectful of their integrity, but the
Hmm.
Chinese do not have access to the same resources that we have now. So the African future is very definitive. But here's what I wanted to point out is that when we start to redefine who we are as African people, we're not, if you go to the US Census, they say we're 43.8 million of the US population. No, it's not true. We've known that they've always undercounted us. But how can they remove 14 million Afro Latinos living in America from being Africans in America? How can they remove, used to be the one drop rule. You remember one drop?
Oh
One
yeah.
drop of black blood doth another
But
Negro make.
yeah.
Well, we can therefore say that mixed race, black and other groups, we're going to claim them as part of our demographic. So by the time I finish putting together who is black in America, we came to the conclusion there was 62 million black people in America, far from 43 million according to the US Census. They even created a new category in 1980 called Hispanic. And then when they
Hmm.
talk about Hispanics in the census data, they say
Hmm.
white non-Hispanic, black non-Hispanic. So they're categorizing Hispanics and separating us. And when it's to their advantage, they put them on the white supremacy team. And
That's
we,
right.
by default, allow that to happen without claiming our team.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, look at the quarterbacks. You're starting to see all these beautiful black quarterbacks totally transforming football.
Hmm.
Um, Mahomes, considered to be maybe the greatest of them, he's biracial.
Right.
So do we claim him, or do the whites claim him, or do we both claim him? Now I'm
Well, you
asking you
are.
that question.
Yeah. No, we definitely. If you have one drop of black blood, this is what they said. You're black, and they're gonna treat you as such. So that's our
Hmm.
brother.
That's right. Now
Unfortunately,
the other side of that challenge is
mm,
culturally.
mm,
I look at Tariq Nasheed and the members of these FBA, and I see them as people of African heritage. I call them my global black family. But look
yeah,
at their behaviors. Look at their
yeah,
language, their religion. Look at their traditions. Look at
yeah.
the associations. They do
Mm,
not claim this global black unity, which is our problem. Our culture has been used as a weapon against us.
definitely.
Your thought?
And this is why I talked to Baba James Smalls and Baba Zach Kondo. I reached out to him. Yeah, someone has to pull the brothers' coattail, and I can't see how people sit there and say that they Christians and all this marching we did to integrate with white folk and forgive them, and then we have such a hatred and animosity for our brothers in Africa. So it's going to take the community at whole, maybe elders like yourself to even pull that brother's coattail and get him to get on track and do the right thing. But
Hmm.
it's just so hard for us to get off track, and we've seen it. That's why I say it's very important. This is why we create now with my organization, Sankore African Society, is the Kali Sofa. You know what Kali Sofa means?
Please do inform me. And that is
Well,
in what language?
that is the Manding languages, Mandinka.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, under Sundiata. So Kaylee Sofa is the warriors. They were the ones that protected the community. So we're having that training. Kaylee Sofa trained with black men will protect the community. Black men will be the positive role models in the community. We need to, get on survival, and things like that. We have to protect our community so that way we can protect ourselves from not only white supremacy, but those in our community who want to do harm, to our women and our children. And we gotta stand strong as warriors because, as Malcolm X would say, has said that uh, I'd rather have 12 angry lions outside the house than one disgruntled pussy cat inside the house. So these brothers that's supposed to be us, and they causing all this havoc. It's destructive. So we have to unite and come together and uh, and check it. It's that simple. And I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about no physical harm coming to no brother or sister, but someone got to say, brother, that's wrong. And far too often we sit back, as the case with Malcolm when Farrakhan wrote disparaging remarks about Malcolm and said he should be die as cast, and basically calling for Malcolm's death, and they depicted um, his head rolling down the street. Someone
Mm-hmm.
should have been a voice of reason and say, listen, no, uh, we respect you, Elijah Muhammad, but you can't dog you can't do this. It's not right. We're not gonna stand for you, you know, taking his brother's life. So far too often we sit back and know something is wrong and won't speak against it because the personality of the individual. If the person got money or the person is, famous, we don't want to say nothing to that person. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes them think they're powerful. We know absolute power corrupts what? Absolutely.
That's
So
right.
you have to say something. It's your duty uh, to say something. There's no way,
Mm-hmm.
don't tell me you don't go in there and talk about the love of Jesus or you're Muslim and Islam means peace and you sit back watching this foolishness and you don't say anything.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple of comments have come on our Rumble channel, our main broadcast channel. We welcome Brother Nguvu for the program. He says, and we were talking earlier about the fertility crash. He says, I think Planned Parenthood, coupled with more black women working outside the home, made a tremendous difference. Having 2 to 4 children became the norm because then that the woman was considered a breeder rather than a parent, brainwashing at its best. And thank you both for discussing FBA. And I just put
Right.
up a link to, and with one of these videos, Tariq Nasheed is pushed up on Twitter. And I said, why is this not prosecuted when an Afri Amer, was the term I use for this tribe, Afri Amer attacks an African immigrant?
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
idea of this type of hostility is just despicable. It's just really despicable. And I thank you again for bringing this subject to our attention today, my brother.
What's even more sad? Uh, Risen Islam and some members of the nation have supported, Tariq, and it's just sad. And one more thing I want to talk about, to something a little bit off the subject, but I'm speaking on a Saturday. I'm dealing with the trans-Sahara slave trade and what Africans are doing what Arabs are doing to Africans, how they have this kafala system and they lure them to go over to places like Oman, Dubai, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and they
Mm-hmm.
literally are killing our women. They had a lady last year breastfeeding puppies. But the point I'm making is that, my empathy when I see human life being lost. But the Palestinian problem is not our problem, you know, because, Arabs treat us deplorable. And so we can have all this, I watched Minister Farrakhan last year spend 2 hours or 3 hours talking about the Palestinians, but don't mention the Congo, don't mention the Catholicism. We begged them to say something about that. So it just seems like, there's no love for Africa, even from our leaders here. The anti-African rhetoric is being pushed by a lot of our leaders. But especially the black Muslims. I mean, we don't even know. Even Brother Malcolm didn't understand when he went to Saudi Arabia in 1963, 64. There was still a slave trade going there because it didn't officially end on paper till 62. But we know they still were doing. They're doing it now. Some girls go
Mm-hmm.
over, their passports confiscated. They show any resistance, they just kill them. And so you know how bad it was in '60. But Malcolm was a celebrity, so they rolled out the red carpet. He was with the royal family, so he didn't get to see what was going on there. But too often, you ask most black Muslims, they can't speak out. They can't tell you
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on there. So I'm just saying that to say. But so when I mention that, what's going on in Africa, we don't care. That's some Africans, you don't care. So it's just a anti-African anti-African thoughts and expression here in America, and we got to get out of that, because they are they are us and we are them. And one other thing they push, they sold us into slavery, which is the most asinine, stupid thing I've ever heard in my life. But I give the example. Let's say the Bloods and Crips had a war in California, and the white man say to every Crip, for every Blood you capture, and y'all go to war, I'm gonna give you a pistol and a pound of marijuana, and vice versa with the Bloods. So now the Bloods and the Crips are captured by white people, and they put them on a ship or airplane, whatever, and take them to a distant, faraway land. And now the children of the Blood and Crips are saying, I don't like them people in California. I don't like them. They sold us into slavery. That's how ridiculous you sound by saying that. So this is what they're saying. They sold us into slavery, which is just ridiculous. Not understanding what happened, the dynamics of the transatlantic slave trade. It's just something they're pushing to
Mm-hmm.
push for, just like for African people.
Yeah, the logic there is bizarre. I do agree.
Hmm.
They sold Europeans, sold and captured other Europeans
Right.
into slavery. That's
Hmm.
where the word slave comes from Slavic, from Slav.
Slavic, yeah.
But if you look at to the map today, they
Hmm.
are all members of the European Union and NATO, bound together by their
Hmm.
culture, bound together by their civilization to preserve themselves for all time, especially when they are fundamentally challenged in demographics and economics today. So at a certain point, we realize a whole lot of criminal acts, a whole lot of devious acts that undermined our long term possibility have taken place in history. That's true. The world has a long, long history 10,000 years, perhaps even longer, much longer. A terrible history. Yet at the same time, we cannot live in the past, especially this tragic past, and act as if that is the present and the future. We have to look to the trajectory of sustainability of the future. This is the African century. We have the next 500 years to develop. How long are we going to hold on to beefs that are five, 600 years old?
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with many of us when we were younger. We, who didn't know better, who were looking to take care of our families. We got out there and we pushed drugs to our people. Many of us did that. So
That's right.
our young people saying today they don't like their parents or grandparents because they all sold drugs to us. It'll be the same thing. So you know it's just propaganda to make us dislike ourselves. Then we want to be sitting bull and high whopper. I'm Indian and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we know, which I don't disagree with. I disagree with Henry Louis Gates a lot on his things he's done, but one thing he did show in one of his studies, a lot of us think we got Indians, and it's not so. But if
Right.
you do have Native American, you're one of those five civilized tribes like the Cherokee, and they own slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they found they didn't mix with them, they didn't even want to accept the so-called Cherokees that had African ancestry. They didn't accept them.
That's
So
right.
I don't you're African.
It
And it said
really comes down to identity crisis.
yeah
That this the
yeah
idea of being an African has been so negatively propagandized
that's
for
right
so long that our people they'll call themselves a tree biscuit before they'll
exactly
call themselves African. Um, you have
exactly
no small number of articulate, sometimes articulate brothers and sisters out here who call themselves Moors.
hmm
I have no problem with calling yourself Moor, but if you call yourself a Moor, teach me, a
hmm
non Moor, how to say thank you in your language, how to say
hmm
greetings in your language. Tell me what you think about me in a polite way in your Moorish language so I can hear your cultural tongue. Guess
hmm
what? They can't even teach me how to say thank you and hi in a Moorish language.
hmm
So
yeah
you're claiming something that you're not living.
exactly yeah. I agree. You know, it's all kind. It's anti-African, rhetoric in a lot of these religions. Even we would talk. You heard Farrakhan say one time, we rebelled and went to the jungles of Africa, left the best part of the planet Earth. That's why our hair got kinky, and our lips got big. Our hair supposed to be the same texture as our eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? So, so I mean that this all the anti or the forbidden of any nation of Islam member to wear African clothing or sister to wear braids, or even at some point they said you can't even marry Africans.
Who said that?
So that's the Nation of Islam's teaching. And back in Elijah Muhammad's time, they said that he forbid his followers to marry African women or women to marry African men. And they forbid them to wear African clothing, forbid the African dance, only dance that they could do at the waltz. So it was,
Mm,
so it's a lot of it was a lot of anti-African sentiments in the nation, of Islam. So this is why when Darfur happened, uh, he could pretty much take the side of the Arabs, against the Dinka people, and deny that there was a genocide happening in the Sudan, because, like I said,
mm-hmm,
no one seems to care about Africa, even though he had good relations with Jerry Rawlings and traveled all throughout Africa, but it just doesn't seem like an African agenda is being pushed
mm-hmm.
by many of our leaders here. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
and even though I have some things I disagree with Brother Umar about, but Umar Johnson, but he's speaking Garvey's message. But the thing that I think that we have to look at, people, as you talked about the picture with Tariq, the, the Boule people, there's nothing wrong with a degree. I think a degree is great, but we tend to put people on pedestals who, our slave
Or
master
are
has.
certified by the other.
Yeah, exactly. We tend to put them on the pedestal. And what made Dr. Umar Johnson great is not his psychology degree, it's the teachings of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the
And
practical application of those teachings. I think
exactly,
Brother
yeah,
Umar does that very well,
yeah, he's great. I
practically
mean,
applying those teachings as
yeah,
we engage in what's called game theory. Are you familiar with game theory?
no, awesome. You teaching me a lot today, brother Kitty, as always.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
game theory essentially comes down to four basic points. In the recent book I published called Disaster Preparedness for World Wars 5 and 6, I
Mhm.
took game theory up to 30 key points of game theory at master's level. Being that if game theory is the prominent way that competition on this planet is taking place, then I have to prepare my team to be the best. So, game theory, the four basic principles of game theory. Number one, the game exists. There is a competition. for a hegemonic position. The game exists. Point two, the game has two or more players in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So competition exists, two or more players in the global competition, according to Samuel P. Huntington's book, The Clash of Civilizations. There are eight major players in the world that would be part of this game theory. Point number three, that the game theory requires players to make strategic moves
Mm-hmm.
towards competing in the game. And point number four is there is a payoff.
Mm.
Those are the four basic fundamentals of game theory. And then when we look at game theory, it applies to everything from the pricing of food on the grocery store shelves to the strategies that football teams make to win in their progressive championships, or however that game theory exists in politics, it exists in war, it exists in international trade, it exists across the board. Game theory. Type
Mm.
into a search engine game theory with capital G, capital T, and you will see that this is something they do not teach in elementary school, high school, junior college. You can learn game theory only at the Ivy League level schools. And what I have put in my book is capable of being taught to a graduate level class in game theory. So the point I'm making is that African American leadership does not understand game theory. Not at all. And as a consequence of that, we are tragic and never ending victims of others who do know the nature of the game and have trained their scholars, their academics, their institutions to play the game at the highest level as if the stakes for the next 1,000 years are the ultimate reward from game theory.
I agree with you. That's true, and this is why I think the Honorable Marcus Messias Garvey said, "Race first."
That's right.
Put your religion aside. Because it's hard to be, for the race if you putting, someone don't look like you because they're your same religion above your people, because they're not doing that. Europeans separated church and state. Because so you don't see the Pope, ain't no white messenger, because
Well, when it's convenient for them.
yeah,
When
it's
it
convenient for that.
when
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
convenient,
yeah.
they will slather that Jesus butter over everybody's
Oh
toast.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But then they go into their secret enclaves and they
That's
say,
right.
hey, 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 leave that stuff at the door. We don't play
Yeah,
that inside of our Bilderbergers, Council on Foreign Relations,
yeah,
Trilateral Commission. These power institutions realize that stuff is to keep the masses fed.
that's right.
And unfortunately, our people think that is the base of power.
Mhm.
This
That that that's
J.A.
right.
Rogers called it hollering and hullabalooing of excessive hyper religiosity.
That's right. Yeah, but they were able to come together. When I say race first, so you had Catholics and
Hmm.
Protestants and the Jewish people who came together under the banner of we're white, and we're gonna put our foot on Africa's neck. So we have to be able to bring ourselves together and put down the religion, put down the politics, and say we got to unite on the basis of race first. And the word race also means, we're in a race. We're in a race. White people right now running a 3 minute mile, and we doing a 12-minute mile. If we don't,
Mm,
and we don't come together and stop all this foolishness, then shoot, they're gonna continue to be ahead of us. Because
that's
of our
right.
disunity, Marcus Garvey said, our disunity is why we're not what we should be. And
That's right.
what men have done, men can do. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. That's
That's
right.
what the Honorable Marcus Garvey said. So, as you know, that he don't get a lot of the credit. The foundation of many organizations was based off of the uh, most Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. because
That's
Marcus.
right, including the Nation of Islam,
Oh,
based in no small part
no doubt,
upon
no doubt.
the participation of Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X's parents
That's right.
in the United Universal Negro Improvement
Improvement Association.
Association.
That's right. And then you understand Malcolm was so sharp when his father Earl Little would go and speak. He would take Malcolm with him. Malcolm would come back and recite his speeches. And so and when his father, Malcolm's father, passed, his mother would make them read the Negro World newspaper.
Hmm.
So they already had a foundation for Garvey. And you know, Malcolm, when Malcolm came to the nation in '52 and got out of prison, he man, he made the nation grow with leaps and bounds. There were only about 400 members when Malcolm came in, and by the time Malcolm was assassinated in '65, it was thousands and thousands. And he
Hmm.
made Elijah Muhammad a very rich man. But the only thing about it is that when you say you're religious, you're a religious leader, can't nobody question you. So nothing you could do is wrong, and in the eyes of the people. And that's why race first, to put a stop to all that. We can step in,
Hmm.
and say,
Yeah, very good point you make.
mm,
We are beginning to get to the part of the program where we're going to start to look to wrap it up and put
all
some
right,
real workable solutions on the table. I do see one comment from Sister Rhonda, Basu Rhonda. She writes, yes, I agree with Baba Sundiata in his posing the need for the black man to secure himself, family, and community. So, this idea of security I do think that has to be prioritized. How do we practically engage in higher levels of security for our community?
well, like I said, with the Kelly Sofas, if you guys want to reach me, uh, you know, um, you can call me up. Go to our website, Sankore African Society, and we're organizing that now. Where we're going to have classes, and you can do them via online. And we have to just start organizing in the community, taking care of our health. So there'll be components of it, like we can, get some tips from Baba Kitty to see how he's looking like a 30-year-old.
I'm
He
doing
could
my best, my brother. I'm
he,
doing my
he could give
best.
us that good recipe for the kale salad and teach us how to garden. 'Cause I know he was gardening back in the day in California. He was telling me about his garden,
Guess
and
what I've been doing the last 2 days? Putting my new garden in my new location.
oh, that's great. That's what because we grow on our, we go, we grow our own food with all this. So we don't know what we're getting with these supermarkets. A man that will not treat you right, will not teach you right, and he's sure not going to feed you right. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So you have to, that's important that we, have community gardens to grow our own food. So those are the components. And then for the sisters, we have the Queens of Africa because one of the
Hmm.
things we have to understand that the black woman is beautiful, and we have to empower you because when we teach a woman, we teach a nation. A nation can rise no higher than a majestic and beautiful uh, African woman. And so that's the key
Hmm.
component. So women getting together and they learn how to take care of themselves, learn that learn that they're beautiful, learn how to better get along with their husbands and all that. Because we see divorces at an all-time high. We see the disconnect, with the black male and female. So in the classes for the sisters, they'll be taught, how to better interact with their children and their significant other, and as well as nutrition and health and self-defense. So you all can reach me. We get this going right now. Also, the reentry circle, because there are many of our brothers who are coming out of prison, and it's already set for them to go back. So we have a reentry circle where brothers can come out, get the resources. Your life is not over because you're a convicted felon. We have to show the people we love them. We know that some of our best and brightest were convicted felons. Uh, Malcolm X.
Hmm.
I can say Marcus Garvey, but President Biden did exonerate the Honorable Marcus Messias Garvey. I don't know if you're aware of that, Baba Keating. He's exonerated.
Well, what did was it exoneration or pardon? I think it
Yeah,
was
pardon.
pardon.
Yeah, pardon.
Exoneration
Yeah,
means
yeah,
a clear
yeah,
that the conviction did not take place.
yeah, yeah. It was a pardon. Yeah, he did. He did pardon Donald Marcus Messias Garvey, which I guess people push for that, and I'm happy for that, but it's still by no mistakes erase the damage that was done to Donald
That's
Marcus
right.
Messias Garvey.
That's
So
right. I mean, there should be because of the damage, there should be reparations. And
that's right.
the Biden administration, who I don't have anything at all good to say about, so I'm not going to talk about them. And the administration included Vice President Kamala Harris, so I don't have anything to say. My daddy said, if you ain't got nothing
Yeah,
good to say, then don't
don't
talk.
don't say it all. Yeah, yeah. But what I was saying is that we some of our best and brightest were convicted, felons.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that white folks really can't judge us. So we have to make the resources available for the people
Mm-hmm.
that's coming home, so they stay home. We have to reach out for them in in prison as well. And also, you got to take a look at it. A lot of our brothers are there. They're wrongly convicted. 50% of
That's right.
all overturned convictions and exonerations are black men. We only 13% of the population. So what's
Well,
going on?
according to the U.S. Census, we're only
Exactly. Yes,
13%.
yes. As Baba Keating, he had
According
to give
to
you.
Yeah, according to Baba Kitty, we are
It's,
over 16% of the population.
okay, so let's say 16%, but we make up, we get 50% of the exoneration. So we don't have and lawyers, the lawyer game is just so, oh man, these people are just bloodsuckers because in civil court, right, you can say, if it's a civil case, they got to justify every hour that they spend on a civil case. But you can have a case when you're fighting a criminal case, and the lawyer say, "I need $20,000." He can go in there and shake hands with the prosecutor and make a deal. 10 minutes, and he get $20,000. So a lot of people can't afford a good legal defense. So we need more of us to get into being paralegals and helping our brothers fight their case. Like Larry Hoover, like a Chief Malik, and like a Mumia Abu Jamal, and like even the exoneration of our mother and queen, Asada Shakur. You know, so as much we have to do
Hmm.
as a people, we gotta go to work and I pledge
That's right.
my every. So I'm gonna fight to every. I will fight with every drop of blood for Africa. I will fight until my last breath to see African people free.
Hmm. Your thoughts on repatriation?
Yeah, I think that those who would like to go should go. For me, I think I just don't think I want to raise my family here in the U.S. I just think I want to be around melanated people. I want them to get the culture of Africa. But I don't think everybody should go. Some people don't even want going.
Yeah, that's true.
You stay right on over here with Massa. If you want, you stay right over here with Massa. And I have to say, now if it gets too hot now, uh, those brothers who denigrated Africa, you don't straighten up. When old Master Trump get on you and do what I think he might try to do, we'll be in Africa, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna call back and say, "Boss, he ain't working. He
Mm.
need to pick him more cotton since y'all love him so much." So, I don't think everybody should go because I think it wouldn't, be feasible. I think we did build this country, so we are entitled to it. But I think we should set the.
um, Gunnar Myrdal would disagree.
Say it one more time.
Gunnar Myrdal would disagree.
Okay. Why? Why? What would he say?
You're familiar with his book, The Largest Study a Black's Ever Done, An
Uh,
American Dilemma, The Negro Problem, and Modern Democracy? Are you familiar
okay.
with that book?
Yes, I am. I have not. I've glimpsed at it, but I have not read it in its entirety. I have to
Yeah, I
read
just
it.
found two more 1944 prints that I had in the garage. I had been looking for these for some time. I own
Wow.
three copies of this book. It's 800, I think it's 800 or 4, how many? It's 1,430 pages long. The largest study of black folks ever done. Let me share with you, I own like five, six copies of it, but I have three of the 1944 prints, which the top end value of those is $2,500.
Maybe
Here's
maybe I get on your good side. Maybe I can get one from you.
We can work that out because I do need to. I do need these books not to be wrapped up, sealed
Right.
up, but they are accumulating value. 20 years ago, I could buy these for $20 to $30 a piece. Now, you're not going to find one. You can accidentally find one at under $180. I want to read, if you don't mind. I want to read two sections of the book. The first section is in chapter 7 called Population. In the subchapter 4, Ends and Means of Population Policy. If we forget about the means for the moment and consider only the quantitative goal for Negro population policy, there is no doubt that the overwhelming majority of white Americans desire that there be as few Negroes as possible in America. If the Negroes could be eliminated from America or greatly decreased in numbers, this would meet the whites' approval, provided that it could be accomplished by means which are also approved. Correspondingly, an increase of the proportion of Negroes in the American population is commonly looked upon as undesirable. Now, I'm going to skip forward 3 pages to page 170. In our further means of discussion, in our further discussion of the means in Negro population policy, we might start out from the desire of the politically dominant white population to get rid of the Negroes. This is a goal difficult to reach by approved means, and the desire has never been translated into actions directly, and probably never will be. All the most obvious means go strongly against the American creed. The Negroes cannot be killed off. Compulsory deportation would infringe upon personal liberty in such a radical fashion that it is excluded. Voluntary exportation of Negroes could not be carried on extensively because of unwillingness on the part of recipient nations as well as on the part of American Negroes themselves, who usually do not want to leave the country but prefer to stay and fight it out here. It said in the long run, I'm skipping a couple of sentences here. No, I can't skip it. Neither is it possible to effectuate the goal by keeping up the Negro death rate. A high death rate is an unhumanitarian and undemocratic way to restrict the Negro population, and in addition, expensive to society and dangerous to the white population. The only possible way of decreasing Negro population is by means of controlling fertility. But we shall find even birth control for Negroes as well as whites will in practice have to be considered primarily as a means to other ends than that of decreasing the Negro population. That's an American Dilemma, pages 167 and 170. Now, you really need to read the whole chapter. But key points were made there. They talked about controlling fertility. We earlier were talking about the abortion crisis.
Right. Eugenics.
Abortion, eugenics, abortion, genocide, and race suicide, where we are killing off our own future.
That's right.
In my books, I write about iatrogenics. We know about eugenics. We don't know about iatrogenics, death by doctor, where annually 170 plus million blacks in America die prematurely because of contact with the medical industries during the last 3 years of the pandemic. I'm not even going to say the name of it because YouTube will censor this document. But that the disproportionate deaths attributed to blacks because of was a 218 to 260% differential between deaths to blacks and deaths to non-blacks in this country alone, which was the highest national death rate from of all nations in the world. So we have to understand we may not have an option, Chief. We may not have an option. We get out and we have the chance of surviving, or we stay here and, according to my book, Fade to Black, most assuredly by 2065 we are gone. I come from Ohio, brother. The word Ohio means great river in the Iroquois nation and the Pawnee Shawnee language, Ohio
Mm,
meant Great Valley. If I go to Ohio today and I ask, where are the people who gave this beautiful land its name? You know what the answer to that question is?
mm,
You have to go to the museum. That's where you find these people.
right. That's right.
Guess what? That's African American fate and destiny.
Brother Kitty, you are so sharp, my Baba. You're so sharp.
Well, I write it
So,
out.
no, I mean, so well read. I mean, you have a wealth of information, and it's always a breath of fresh air because the studies you've done, and you enlightened me on some things today. I don't know. I know since the age of 17, spent 8 or 9 hours a day studying the plight of our
Mm-hmm.
people, and you are a true Baba, a true elder to us because you got to give this information to younger people so we
I
can pass it
receive that.
on. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I thank you. I have a new book coming out as well. My book is called The Philosophy and Teachings of the Mansa K. Um,
Okay.
now you know what the word Mansa K. Uh,
Mansa is a word akin to emperor that we
it,
have
it,
from the Mali Empire.
yeah, so K, means man. So
Mm-hmm.
K or She in Bamananka is man. Muso is woman. So since I was the newly crowned Master K, I wrote a book. It's my thoughts. Uh, I got a chapter about the trans-Sahara slave trade, about what the Arabs have done. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about Marcus Garvey. Just give just some history of some ancient kings and queens. I tell the history of Sundiata, which is really a amazing story. The founder of the Mali Empire, who I'm named after, was really a great story. A man who couldn't walk or didn't talk for the first. Uh, he couldn't walk for the first 6 years of his life. He didn't speak right off, and then he went on to be one of the greatest emperors of Mali. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the relative of Mansa Konko Musa.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's we got to know more about that. So I deal with that, and just a lot of things on African history. So I'm proud. This
Mm-hmm.
my book coming out, so it's already ready to be published and printed. So hope you all will check it out, and I could, you know, I'm
Awesome.
I'll be a little nervous giving it to Baba Kitty because I know I got I know I got to be on point because people in the
Well,
face
that's why
Calvary
you
is
that's why you give it to Baba Kitty before it comes out.
that's there
Because
you
I
go.
even have to correct my own books. Sometimes I'll put a book out, and
Yeah,
within 10 days, I'll send a new corrected copy to the printer.
exactly. I didn't notice my first book came out 2007, Who's the Original Man, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that all books have some type of typo error in there. I thought no matter how you get people to edit it or whatever, it's still gonna have some issues. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
I'm
do
very excited.
persist.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited
Good.
about that.
When
Yeah,
do
so
we expect your book to be available?
I hope we should have it out by the end of by mid or end of March. It should be ready.
Okay.
And it's ready.
Good.
Just gotta get it printed and printed, and they'll be able to get it on Amazon off the website. And then
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, well, I have another book going to KDB Books, which has been printing my books. I have another one going to them. It'll be my second book of the year next week.
wow, that's
That's the
great.
one, The African Future.
And see, it's good. See, you show us that man, age is just a number because yourself, you say you'll be 70, writing books. Peter Bailey just did a new book. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
talking about Malcolm. Zach Kondo has a new book coming out where he's one.
Awesome.
So it's good to see our elders writing. So we're seeing. I don't have much good to say about Trump, but to see someone nearly 80 causing all this havoc, it just goes to show
That's
you
right.
that that 70, 80 is not a destiny if you take care of yourself like Brother Keaty and eat right and grow your own food, man. We got a long way to go, and
That's
we
right.
need you because this fight needs you. We with you on our side, Baba Keaty. We going the ancestors are smiling. Marcus Garvey is smiling. Nat Turner is smiling. Denmark
I
Vesey is
say.
smiling.
I
Harriet
say.
Tubman is clapping. So
I
that's my
say.
boy.
That's right.
They all
Well,
proud of you. They all
you
look at it. Huh?
you remind me of the saying that we often use: as we reach for the stars, we always remember that we stand upon the shoulders of giants.
That's right. That's right. Forgive me for yarning. So I was up all. I'm with these FBA people. I was up all. I had a quick. And you called me. I'm glad you had called, and because I
That's
was,
right.
man, it got me up, and I was so,
Okay.
forgive me for yarning.
Well,
And I
for
just enjoyed
people who
myself.
want to know more about what you do, how
Yeah.
can they find you and learn more about your organization online?
Yeah. Well, you can go to sankore african society.com. Sankore African society.com. Or you can always call my number at 708 631 4123. Again, it's 708 631 4123. Or you can reach Baba Keita. He has my information. So, um, man, it's been a pleasure.
It
You're a
has
true
been a
African.
pleasure for me. I want to thank you again for
Hmm.
bringing a bold topic to LIB
Yes.
Radio. My initial glance at it, I'd mentioned to you, I would say, beef. But then now that you've shown us what you were so motivated to respond to, react to, I definitely do agree. And I'm very grateful for your wisdom, for your scholarship, and for your commitment. You do great things in the community. And we are, as the elders, we are proud to see you rising ever closer to the stars.
Thank you. If they don't straighten this out, in May, I'm planning around African Liberation Day. We're going to Twitter and YouTube and saying, listen, uh, we cannot stand for African people to be denigrated on your
Hmm.
platforms. You're gonna take Baba Keedy down. They did the Sundiata. I did a debate with Eric Muhammad a few years ago, and I was like, I want to look for it, and they just it's took down. So I think that stuff is lost. I think that's criminal, man. When we these are historic things, and you just erase it. That's why you got to back it. That's why we really got to have our own platform. We just
Hmm.
can't depend on people that have historically abused us all these years. We got to have our own uh, platforms, not depend on them so much. Because
That's right.
basically it makes us compromise ourselves. We don't want to offend massa. We want to
Hmm.
we got to play his game and speak how he wants us to speak. But they can get on there and say all kinds of stuff. Elon Musk can do Nazi salutes. You know what I'm saying? But yet they'll keep that on there. But then take someone like Baba Keedy down. It's
For reading
well,
peer-reviewed science
right,
journals on
right.
the air.
And we know
That's right.
Baba. You come with the utmost decorum. You're professional. I remember when I debated Malik, and he was like, you don't allow any profanity. You didn't allow any profanity on your network. So I mean, as a young man, I couldn't. I was younger then. I couldn't understand it, and now I just understand and appreciate. You were the utmost professional. You're just professional, and so they took
That's
you
it.
down. It's an attack against our people. It's an
That's
attack.
right.
So we
And
have to.
this attack against myself came out of the Biden administration. We actually
Yeah.
saw the memos that were
Mhm.
targeting certain groups over debating the science of infectious disease.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So and we see. I guess we can't say it. We know that there have been some negative things that's come out of that. People
That's
that
right.
did what they asked them to do. I had a friend of mine who went that direction, and he ended up
Hmm.
getting ill. So um,
Well, send him to me. I got the formulas to get everybody who wants to get their body right, tight,
yeah,
and
yeah,
on point and
yeah.
get young again, reverse the aging process. I actually have systemic programs. I teach these classes regularly. If it works for me, I figure I can teach it to other people and it'll work for them as well. So if you have somebody who's had a stroke, has a diabetes, hypertension, all of those things, these are not the most difficult problems to solve.
Yeah, what I found good for me. I'm gonna get with you myself too. 'Cause I want to get some of that. I do that sauna every day. I'm the sauna champ of the world,
Yeah,
and
that's
I found.
what they call that uh, hyperthermal therapy.
Oh yeah, I'm the champ. Now when I walk in there, James, the champ is here because I stay in there longer than anybody. But I found during those times where everything was these flus and stuff, if I find
Hmm.
myself getting sick, I go get in there for 30
Hmm.
minutes, and then I may do a second round. And by the time I walk out of there, I'm feeling much better.
Yeah, that's
Really,
even being used now to treat cancer patients. Hypertherapy, hyperthermal therapy.
yeah, it definitely lowers your blood pressure. It They say that adds to your life value. So I do that I try to do that as much as possible. I go to LA Fitness. I do that about 5, 6 days a week sometimes.
Now, have
And
you done the ice bath in the aftermath?
no, I don't do the ice bath, but I do get in the pool
Mm-hmm.
after
Yeah.
it cool down.
My
But
newest book out is called The Stem Cell Revolution.
okay.
And using hypo and hyperthermotherapy, you
Hmm.
can increase your stem cell proliferation very dramatically, and that essentially becomes the fountain of youth.
And I just see you getting sharper, like you're mentally sharper. What's good for, you know? 'Cause my mom is 80. She'll be 81 in June. And what's good for reversing like dementia and memory? I don't. She doesn't have dementia, but I just want to know what's good for,
Cognitive,
keeping the
what do we
brain.
call it? Cognitive decline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
I
good for
wrote
that?
about this. I actually have three new books out. Number four will be coming out since December. So that one is called Living Superfood Solutions. It's
Okay.
about food nutrition solutions. So there is a chapter using living superfood to combat mental decline, cognitive decline. I have a whole chapter on that. And it's very serious information. The stem cell research is very appropriate there as well. So basically, we'll talk off the air, but get into one of the classes. The classes last generally. The next class coming up is a 21-day detoxification. And during 21 days, people who want to lose weight, I've had them lose up to, in fact, I lost in 28 days 26 pounds, but most people average about 20 to 30 pounds during the 21 day of the detox fast. Then you just keep it up for life, and now you've extended your life expectancy. So get with me off the air, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about getting you, your mother, and everyone around you who you need to be around for the next 60 years to fight this critical fight. We got to get us all on the same optimized health trajectory.
Yeah. I'm with you, Bob. I'm with you. So that's
I'm
good. So
glad you're with me. I'm glad you're on my team, my brother.
yeah, no doubt. I want to do that fast. I'm trying, and now I do like the intermittent. I fast like
Yes,
eight.
intermittent fasting is
Yeah,
very good.
18 to 20, and I try to do. I'm trying to start doing at least a 3 day fast. Once a month, where I fast. 3 days just on water and
Let's
maybe.
talk. I got something you definitely want to see.
Okay, all right, definitely, Bob. Thank you. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. You brought a wonderful conversation. Don't wait so long to come back on Alibi Radio. As soon as your book is out, we got to have you back on.
I would love to have it. Yep. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Much
All right.
respect to each and every one of you. You've been listening to my guest today. I thought he did a wonderful job. And I'm just so glad. Again, Chief Sundiata Kamara is a prominent figure in the African community in Chicago, known for his work in cultural preservation, education, and community development. He has been involved in multiple initiatives aimed at promoting African heritage and supporting the local community. His contributions often include organizing events, workshops, and programs that celebrate African culture and history. Today, we were focusing on Pan African unity and a major expose of those disunifying voices that are out here. And so I'm glad that I did allow my brother to teach what he has found out. It was shocking to me, it really was. And I am moved to actions. I look forward to collaborating, cooperating with our dear brother, Chief Sundiata Kamara. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. I'm so excited. You can tell I'm real energetic. I've been working in the garden the last couple of days, and so I'm just really excited. I'm actually going to start putting plants in the ground and getting ready to eat my homegrown or organic vegetables on a regular basis and herbs, culinary herbs. We are just so proud to be walking in the tradition of our great ancestors, my father and his fathers, my mothers and their mothers, all gave us the best of what they learned to do in their lifetime And that's why you tune in to LIB Radio on a regular basis. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio. LIB TV, we are living in black.com. So tell your friends to tell their friends that we have our own now. And we be very, very proud of who we are, what we do, and where we are going with this future. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.